Most people think financial stability is about earning more. They're wrong. The secret isn't in your income. It's in your architecture. Think about gravity. You don't fight gravity. You don't argue with it. You don't motivate yourself to resist it every single morning. Gravity just works. It operates whether you're awake or asleep, whether you're paying attention or not. The most financially stable people on Earth have built their money systems the same way. Automatic, invisible, relentless. They didn't build willpower, they built gravity. And here's the brutal truth nobody tells you at the beginning. The people who struggle financially aren't lazy. They aren't stupid. They aren't morally inferior. They are simply operating without a gravitational system. They're trying to fly by flapping their arms harder. Every single day. That's exhausting. That's unsustainable. And that's exactly why 78% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck. Not because they don't earn enough, but because they never built the architecture that makes money accumulate automatically. This is not a story about budgeting. This is not a lecture about cutting your coffee. This is a physics lesson. And once you understand the physics, everything changes. Let's start with the first trap, the one that catches almost everyone before they even realize the game has begun. The complexity tax. Your brain has a finite amount of decision-making energy. This isn't motivational fluff. This is neuroscience. The prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for rational decisions, long-term planning, and impulse control, depletes with use. Researchers at Ben Gurion University studied Israeli judges and found that the quality of their decisions deteriorated significantly throughout the day. By afternoon, they were approving far fewer parole requests, not because the cases were worse, but because their brains were tired. Decision fatigue is real. It's measurable. And your financial life is drowning in it. Here's what a typical person's financial life looks like. 47 different subscriptions, each with a different billing date. 3 bank accounts with overlapping purposes. A credit card for emergencies that somehow always has a balance. A savings account they manually transfer money into when they remember. A retirement account they haven't looked at in 2 years. A budget spreadsheet they update enthusiastically every January and abandon by February. Every single one of these requires a decision. Every decision costs energy, and when your energy runs out, and it always runs out, you default to the path of least resistance. You spend, you delay, you avoid. The wealthy don't have more willpower. They have fewer decisions. Warren Buffett eats the same breakfast every morning. Mark Zuckerberg wears the same outfit. This isn't eccentricity. This is cognitive resource management. They've eliminated trivial decisions so their mental energy is available for what matters. Apply this to your money. Automate everything that can be automated. Set up automatic transfers to savings on payday, before you see the money, before your brain gets involved, before decision fatigue has a chance to strike. Set up automatic bill payments, consolidate accounts, eliminate subscriptions you haven't used in 30 days. Every financial decision you eliminate is energy you redirect toward building wealth. The exit from this trap is radical simplification. 1 checking account, 1 savings account, 1 investment account. Automatic transfers. Done. Your financial system should be so simple that a tired, stressed, post-work version of you can't break it. Because that version of you is making most of your financial decisions right now. The lifestyle inflation escalator. Imagine an escalator going down. You're walking up it. As long as you walk faster than it descends, you make progress. The moment you stop, even for a second, you slide backward. This is lifestyle inflation, and it's the single most effective wealth destruction mechanism ever invented, because it feels like success while it's happening. Here's the mechanism. You get a raise. Your brain registers this as an improvement in your financial situation. Dopamine fires. You feel good. And then, almost immediately, almost automatically, your spending adjusts upward to match your new income. A nicer apartment, a newer car, better restaurants, more vacations. Within 6 months, you're just as financially stressed as you were before the raise, but now you're stressed at a higher price point. The escalator moved down, you moved up. Net displacement? 0. This isn't weakness. This is hedonic adaptation, one of the most well-documented phenomena in behavioral economics. Researchers at Northwestern University and the University of Massachusetts studied lottery winners and found that within a year, their reported happiness levels had returned to baseline. The brain normalizes. What felt like luxury becomes the new normal, and then you need more to feel the same. The wealthy understand this mechanism, and they exploit it in reverse. They keep their lifestyle flat while their income grows. Every raise, every bonus, every windfall, they capture it before their lifestyle can absorb it. They automate the capture. The money moves to investments before the brain has time to generate desires for it. This is the minimalist money rule that sounds simple and is almost never followed. Your savings rate should increase with every income increase, not your spending, your savings rate. Concrete example. You earn $60,000 a year and save 10%. You get a raise to $72,000. The average person adjusts their lifestyle to $72,000 and keeps saving 10%. The wealthy person keeps their lifestyle at $60,000 and saves the entire $12,000 difference plus their original savings. Within 5 years, the gap between these two people is not $12,000. It's the compound growth of $12,000 per year. It's enormous. It's the difference between financial stress and financial freedom. The exit from this trap is a personal rule, stated clearly and in advance. Every income increase gets split. 50% goes to lifestyle, 50% goes to savings and investment. Non-negotiable. Automatic. Gravity. The deficit tax. Being poor is expensive. This sounds like a paradox. It isn't. It's mathematics. When you don't have a financial buffer, when you're living at the edge of your income, every unexpected expense becomes a crisis, and crises are expensive. Your car breaks down and you don't have $800 in savings, so you put it on a credit card at 24% interest. You pay it off over 6 months. That $800 repair cost you $1,100. You needed a medical procedure and couldn't afford the copay up front, so you delayed it. The condition worsened. The eventual treatment cost 3 times as much. You couldn't buy in bulk because you didn't have the cash up front, so you paid premium prices for small quantities every week. Over a year, you spent 40% more on groceries than someone who bought in bulk. This is the deficit tax. It's the premium you pay for not having a buffer, and it compounds. Every dollar you lose to the deficit tax is a dollar that can't build your buffer, which means you stay in the zone where the deficit tax applies, which means you keep paying it. It's a trap with mathematical walls. A study by the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau found that households without an emergency fund spend an average of $1,200 more per year on financial fees, penalties, and high-interest debt than households with even a modest $1,000 buffer. $1,000 saves you $1,200 per year. The return on that investment is 120%. There is no stock, no bond, no investment vehicle on Earth that reliably returns 120% per year. Building an emergency fund is the highest return investment available to anyone without one. The exit from this trap is not complicated. It is urgent. Before you invest in anything else, before you think about stocks, crypto, real estate, you build a buffer. $1,000. Then 3 months of expenses. Then 6 months. This is not conservative advice. This is the mathematical prerequisite for every other financial strategy to work. You cannot build wealth from a position of constant financial crisis. The physics don't allow it. The visibility illusion. Here's something your brain does that you probably don't know about. It assigns importance based on visibility. The things you can see, touch, and feel register as real. The things that are abstract, distant, or invisible register as theoretical. This is why you'll spend $200 on a dinner without hesitation, but agonize over a $200 investment. The dinner is immediate, sensory, social. The investment is abstract, future, invisible. Your brain doesn't weight them equally. It never has. And the financial industry has spent billions of dollars exploiting this asymmetry. Think about how credit cards work. You hand over a piece of plastic. No cash leaves your hand. No wallet gets lighter. The transaction is frictionless, painless, invisible. Studies by MIT researchers Drazen Prelec and Duncan Simister found that people spend up to 100% more when paying with credit cards versus cash. Not 10%, not 20%, 100%. The pain of paying, what behavioral economists call the pain of paying, is a real neurological phenomenon. Cash activates it. Cards suppress it. And when the pain of paying is suppressed, you spend more. Always. The wealthy understand visibility. They make their savings visible and their spending painful. They track their net worth monthly, not to obsess, but to make the abstract concrete. They see the number grow. They feel the progress. This activates the same reward circuitry that spending activates, but it's pointed in the right direction. Meanwhile, they introduce friction into spending. They delete saved credit card information from websites. They implement a 48-hour rule for any purchase over $100. They use cash for discretionary spending categories. They make the invisible visible and the painless painful. The exit from this trap is a monthly net worth calculation. Write it down. Assets minus liabilities. One number. Watch it every month. Make your wealth visible. Make your progress real. Your brain will start to protect that number the same way it protects your social status, your reputation, your identity. Because to your brain, what you measure becomes what you are. The complexity moat. The financial industry doesn't want you to understand finance. This isn't conspiracy theory, it's business model. Complexity is a moat. The more complicated financial products appear, the more you need advisors, managers, and intermediaries, all of whom charge fees. The average actively managed mutual fund charges 1% to 1.5% in annual fees. That sounds small. It isn't. Over 30 years, a 1% fee difference on a $100,000 investment costs you approximately $100,000 in lost compound growth. The fee doesn't just cost you the fee, it costs you everything that fee would have compounded into. John Bogle, the founder of Vanguard and the inventor of the index fund, spent his career making this argument with mathematics. He showed repeatedly and irrefutably that the average actively managed fund underperforms its benchmark index after fees. Not sometimes, on average, over time. The complexity isn't adding value, it's extracting it. from you. The minimalist money rule here is almost offensively simple. Invest in low-cost index funds, total market, low expense ratio, automatic contributions. Don't touch it. This strategy, followed consistently, outperforms the vast majority of professional money managers over any 20-year period. Not because it's clever, because it's simple, because it eliminates the fees, the trading costs, the emotional decisions, the market timing errors that destroy returns. Simplicity is the strategy. Boredom is the feature, not the bug.
The exit from this trap is a single question you ask about every financial product. What are the total fees? And what is the evidence that this complexity earns returns that justify those fees? If the answer isn't clear, immediate, and mathematically compelling, walk away. Simplicity wins. Always. Now let's talk about the gravitational system itself. Because understanding the traps is only half the equation. The other half is building the architecture that makes wealth accumulate automatically, the way gravity makes objects fall. The first principle of the gravitational system is this: pay yourself first. Not after bills, not after fun, first. Before anything else leaves your account, a predetermined percentage moves automatically to savings and investment. This is not a new idea. George Clason wrote about it in 1926 in The Richest Man in Babylon. The principle hasn't changed because human psychology hasn't changed. If you see the money, you spend the money. If you never see it, you adapt to living without it. Your lifestyle adjusts to what's available. This is the same hedonic adaptation that drives lifestyle inflation, but now you're using it in your favor. You're hacking your own psychology. The number matters less than the habit. Start with 1% if that's all you can manage. Then increase it by 1% every 3 months. Within 2 years, you're saving 8%. Within 4 years, 16%. The increases are small enough that your lifestyle barely notices them, but the accumulation is enormous. This is the snowball. Small at the top of the hill, unstoppable at the bottom. The second principle is the one account rule for clarity. Most people have money scattered across multiple accounts with overlapping purposes and no clear system. This creates confusion, which creates avoidance, which creates financial anxiety. Simplify ruthlessly. One checking account for income and fixed expenses. One high-yield savings account for your emergency fund and short-term goals. One investment account for long-term wealth building. 3 accounts, clear purposes, no overlap, no confusion. When your system is simple enough to understand in 30 seconds, you'll actually use it. The third principle is the 24-hour rule for discretionary spending. Any non-essential purchase over a threshold you set, $50, $100, whatever fits your life, waits 24 hours. Not because you can't afford it, Because your brain's desire system operates on a different timeline than your rational decision-making system. The desire is immediate and intense. The rational evaluation takes time. Give it time. In study after study, the 24-hour rule eliminates between 30% and 50% of discretionary purchases, not because people decide they can't afford them, because the desire simply fades. The urgency was manufactured. The need was temporary. The money stays in your account. The fourth principle is the no-budget budget. Traditional budgets fail because they require constant maintenance, constant decisions, and constant willpower. They're the financial equivalent of a crash diet. They work for a week and then collapse under the weight of real life. The no-budget budget works differently. You automate your savings first. You automate your fixed expenses. Whatever remains is yours to spend freely, without guilt, without tracking, without spreadsheets. The system does the work. You live your life. This isn't irresponsible. This is sustainable. Sustainability beats perfection every time. The fifth principle is the asymmetric focus rule. Not all financial decisions are equal. Some decisions have enormous long-term impact. Most decisions have almost none. The wealthy focus their financial energy on the high-impact decisions and ignore the low-impact ones. Negotiating your salary is a high-impact decision. It affects every paycheck for years. Cutting your daily coffee is a low-impact decision. It saves you $1,500 a year. Meaningful, but not transformative. Choosing the right mortgage rate is a high-impact decision. It affects hundreds of thousands of dollars over 30 years. Choosing between two brands of pasta is a low-impact decision. Focus your energy asymmetrically. Spend hours on the decisions that matter. Spend seconds on the ones that don't. This is where the minimalist philosophy intersects with the wealth-building philosophy. Minimalism isn't about deprivation. It's about focus. It's about eliminating the noise so you can hear the signal. The signal is, which decisions actually move the needle? Spend your energy there. Automate everything else. Let's talk about debt, because no conversation about financial stability is complete without it. And the minimalist money rule on debt is simple but counterintuitive. Not all debt is equal, and treating it as if it is will cost you.
High-interest consumer debt, credit cards, payday loans, personal loans above 10% interest, is financial gravity working against you. Every dollar of this debt is a dollar that's actively shrinking your wealth. Paying it off is the highest guaranteed return available to you. If your credit card charges 22% interest, paying it off gives you a guaranteed 22% return. Nothing in the investment world offers that with certainty. Attack this debt with everything you have. Minimum payments on everything else. Maximum payments on the highest interest debt. Then move to the next. This is the avalanche method, and it is mathematically optimal. Low-interest debt, mortgages, student loans below 5%, business loans with positive ROI, is different. This debt can coexist with wealth building. The interest rate is low enough that investment returns can exceed it. You don't need to pay off your 3% mortgage before investing. The math doesn't support it, but you do need to understand the difference. Debt at 22% is a fire. Debt at 3% is a tool. Treat them accordingly. The minimalist rule on debt is this: eliminate all high-interest debt before doing anything else with your money except building your emergency fund. These two things, the buffer and the debt elimination, are the foundation. Everything else is built on top of them. Without the foundation, everything else is unstable. Now let's talk about income, because the minimalist money rules aren't just about spending less. They're about building more. And the most important income rule is one that almost nobody follows. Never depend on a single income stream. This isn't about becoming an entrepreneur or a real estate mogul. It's about risk management. A single income stream is a single point of failure. If that stream stops, layoff, illness, industry disruption, your entire financial system collapses. The wealthy don't have one income stream. They have multiple. Not because they're greedy, because they understand risk. The minimalist approach to multiple income streams is to start small and start with what you have: your skills, your knowledge, your time. A freelance project on weekends, a digital product that sells while you sleep, dividend income from investments, rental income from a spare room. These don't need to be large. They need to exist. A second income stream of $500 a month isn't just $500. It's a buffer. It's optionality.
It's the difference between a layoff being a crisis
and a layoff being an inconvenience. The rule is simple. Before you increase your lifestyle, build a second income stream. Before you upgrade your car, build a second income stream. Before you take on a larger mortgage, build a second income stream. The second stream doesn't need to match your primary income, it just needs to exist. Because existence is the point. Redundancy is the point. Resilience is the point. Here's the research that ties all of this together. Thomas Stanley and William Danko spent decades studying millionaires in America for their landmark book, The Millionaire Next Door. What they found shattered every cultural assumption about wealth. The typical American millionaire doesn't drive a luxury car. They drive a used Toyota. They don't live in a mansion. They live in a modest house in a middle-class neighborhood. They don't wear expensive watches or designer clothes. They look, from the outside, completely ordinary. What makes them extraordinary is invisible. It's their system, their automation, their consistency, their refusal to let lifestyle inflation consume their income gains, their decades of boring, automatic, unglamorous saving and investing. The millionaires Stanley and Danko studied weren't wealthy because they earned more than their neighbors. Many of them earned less. They were wealthy because they kept more of what they earned, because they built systems that accumulated wealth automatically, because they understood that financial stability isn't a feeling, it's an architecture. And here's the final thing, the thing that makes all of this possible. The thing that the financial industry, the advertising industry, and the consumer culture all conspire to make you forget. You already have enough to start. Not enough to be wealthy, not enough to be comfortable, but enough to start. 1% of your income, one automated transfer, one account simplified, one high-interest debt attacked, one 24-hour rule implemented, one net worth calculation written down. These are not large actions. They are small actions with enormous compound consequences. The snowball doesn't need to be large to start rolling. It needs to start rolling. The gravitational system you build today will pull money toward you for the rest of your life. Not because you're smarter, not because you're luckier, because gravity doesn't care about smart or lucky. Gravity cares about mass and momentum.
Every dollar you save is mass. Every month you save it is momentum. And once the system has enough mass and enough momentum, it becomes self-sustaining. The snowball rolls on its own. The compound interest compounds the compound interest. The second income stream funds the third. The emergency fund eliminates the deficit tax. The simplified system eliminates decision fatigue. The visibility of your growing net worth eliminates the visibility illusion. This is not inspiration. This is physics. The door is open. It has always been open. The physics are on your side. The mathematics are on your side. The only thing standing between you and a financially stable life is the first automated transfer. Set it up today, not tomorrow, not when you earn more, not when you feel ready. Today. Because the snowball doesn't start rolling by itself. But once it starts, once you give it that first push, gravity does the rest. And gravity never stops working.